What's good, everybody? Valley here once again. Welcome back to the Messy Workbench. And this time we're taking a look at the mighty Dart Zone Pro Mark 1 Collector's Edition. And if you watched my short little stream a few days ago or whatever, whenever we're getting this out onto the YouTubes, I actually did get number 690, which I was kind of hoping I'd get some sort of like 69 or whatever, because that is just hilarious. And yes, here's a clip of me discovering my number. Yes, I was very, very, very happy to have gotten 690. I mean, it's 10 times as good as 69, right? But yes, this is the Dart Zone Pro Mark 1. It is a pump action Omni dart blaster, meant to be more of a sort of hobby grade blaster out of the box, made by Dart Zone, obviously, and Primetime Toys. I don't know what I'm doing with my hands here, but yes. Moving up onto the front, we got our Picatinny pump grip. This came in a solid piece. You actually have to take apart into two pieces. It'd be nice if it actually had some sort of thumb screws for this angled foregrip. But, you know, if it's not going to be taken off all that often, or ever really, it's fine that it's a screw-on piece. Got your faux pop-up sort of sights. You got your whole pump grip rail system here. You got the pins, got the thumb screws for taking the whole thing apart into two pieces. Got your lever style release, which is a curve, which makes things a little bit easier to hit. And then you've got your buffer tube on the back, which is extendable, and I'll get on to some issues that I have been recently having and other people have been complaining about. But yes. Oh look, you can see some stress marks from where I've already opened this thing up and couldn't really get this thing popped off. But yeah, the closest thing I could really compare this to is this. This, if you remember, is my Worker Prophecy with the UG1 PDW kit and a Orange Modworks Omni Breach. Like, it's the hybrid kit for the Retaliator, but I've also got a expanded worker plunger tube in here just for extra bits, and I even have these little pop-up sights just like what's on the Dart Zone Pro here. And yeah, where this one has one trick of getting full lengths and half lengths in a breach, this one has another, which this one is quite interesting, and we'll get onto that here in a moment. I need to set this down. But yeah, this thing works quite interesting because it's a full style pusher breach, but if you watch this, you can see the bit in there, which this is the plunger tube right here. It actually moves back a little bit before you actually get to the actual draw. But it actually has the same amount of draw pretty much as a regular Retaliator, if you take into account the fact that it's got the extra little bit to make the whole plunger system move. Which that also means the catch moves and everything, and I have an idea of how I could make this actually have slam fire, which is a really neat feature if I can pull it off correctly. I am a little bit afraid to do it to this one. I might do it to a proper production model if they come out later on. But yeah, like, I've actually taken a look inside. It's well padded on the front and back of the plunger tube. But yeah, like, this thing has a good bit of power and the draw is not too heavy. Another thing you get if you're getting the Collector's Edition, which you probably already have by now, is a couple boxes of darts. You got your, I forget how many of the full-length bamboo style darts, which is what I call them, but they are just called the Dart Zone Pro darts, and then a box of the half-lengths, which I like how the half-lengths are packaged, which you can see I've already been using some of mine. They're already gone to the ether, but yeah. And then you also get a full-length and a half-length mag with a half-length adapter. Now, this adapter will not work in other blasters, but that's only because this sort of rib right here is right here. Now, you could easily get across that, past that rather, with a pair of side cutters or flush cutters, whatever. These aren't optimal, and these are obviously very, very stiff. I need to actually soak them in some WD-40. But you can easily just, or sand that away, grind it away, whatever. And then you can put this adapter into other blasters to use it with something like, I don't know, Caliburn, whatever. But you don't really need to, considering this thing takes all your other adapters that you've already bought into. Say if you're bought into Talons, there you go. You got your Talon adapter, which I need to back for whatever reason. There you go. Got Talon adapter. It works just fine. Other people have already shown this off. You can also stick your katana adapter if you've got one of those, which I have one somewhere, but I'm not sure exactly where it is right now. But yeah, like, this thing works really well. Another thing you also get is a metal and a plastic barrel. Here's the metal barrel, which people have discovered already by measuring. It actually is pretty much the same exact dimensions as Artifact barrel, or the Monkey Mods barrel that you can get. The only difference is this has a little machined ridge in here to help lock it in with the screw, which, you know, you can get past that, whatever. It is ever so slightly loose on these bamboo darts, which you could actually use this barrel as a miniature blowgun if you wanted. But it also has a slightly looser fitting plastic barrel, which is better for fitting the broad tip darts like, say, AccuFakes, Adventure Force waffles, anything like that. It works alright with men gun waffles, I've heard, and oddly enough, it is very inconsistent with Worker Gen 3 darts. I do not know why, but yeah, like they get stuck in the barrel, at least with the metal barrel. I have not tried with the plastic barrel, but the plastic barrel, where it is slightly shorter and is more loose, it does drop your performance a little bit, though that is a good thing if you're going to be using this for HVZ, because with the plastic barrel in, you are getting, I got, at least in my testing with Adventure Force waffles, I was getting a hair over the that sort of 130 limit that most people have, so that is something to think about. Nice little neat thing about this, though, is to get into it, you can swap the barrel out just with 4 screws and then a 5th screw right here. The whole point of this is that it is mod friendly. Like, you can swap out the barrel fairly easy, you can swap out the spring fairly easy, which I'll show you how to do that here in a minute, and options for barrels for spring swaps and such, which people have been discussing, and extra mods we can do to make this thing even better. Get 4 screws on the front, then this whole assembly just pulls out. Then you've got your muzzle, which actually pulls out as well. If you wanted to have, say, a scar right there, which you could probably print or just make a scar that'll fit perfectly in here, because without the muzzle on here, the barrel is fairly loose on the front, which is unfortunate, but we have ways of getting around that. But I actually kind of like the design of this. And then the 5th screw on the bottom right here, very easy to get to. Just loosen it a little bit. And there you go. You got your plastic barrel. It is slightly shorter, but it's negligible. For the for the length you've lost. Now you just simply slide it in. There you go. Whoops. And then tighten your screw back down. That'll fit nicely into that slot. And then you can put your original muzzle back on, which I like. The sort of Viper styling this has is very aggressive, very sci-fi. And paired with the sort of texture the whole plastic has, it does look nice. It looks more rugged. It's not going to get all sorts of fingerprints, which I like my shiny blasters and everything with my 2K clear, but fingerprints are inevitable whenever you have a super glossy paint job, which some people are fine with. It does bug me sometimes, but at least if I'm going to be putting something on a wall and not touching it for a while, I can at least clean it off with a little bit of Windex or whatever. And there you go. Then you got your metal barrel back in, which this thing will work really well with the included darts and with elites, but no one really uses elites anymore because they are just so horribly inaccurate. And I discovered something. This is the Flechette Spectre Artifact Barrel Scar, and it fits perfectly in this blaster. Ignore the sort of wrap around that. I just had some extra and I didn't feel like cutting it off. But yes, with a little bit of tape, it fits on the barrel perfectly and fits pretty much flush inside the original muzzle. And this thing does actually help with accuracy. Maybe not as much as a much nicer Scar or even a Merlin, but I think that with a higher spring load, it will help a lot whenever going with other types of darts and such. But the fact that there's a pre-made one that wasn't even made for this system that fits perfectly inside of here. And that was just such a nice little thing that I discovered whenever I decided to print it out and string it up. And yeah, to get to the spring, it's very, very simple. It's much easier than some people have led you on to believe. There are 2 screws, here and here, easily accessible through the slots right here. And then you can actually take your tool, which you can actually store in your stock here, and it actually clips in. It is a little bit tough to get out, but with enough force you can actually pull it out of there. And there's actually a couple tabs in here that are easily turned by this tool, and then the whole thing will just pop out. And the spring is actually about the same size as a CEDA spring, though CEDA springs are slightly more narrow on the inside diameter, and you will need to shave your plunger rod slightly. I actually did talk to the guys that make the Element XR plunger rod for the Retaliator, Prophecy, that sort of platform, which I'll have a review on soon. And they were wanting to make a plunger rod for this because the plunger head itself will fit. It just needs a slightly thinner O-ring. But the rod itself needs to be thinner to be able to fit CEDA springs. So if they can make one that'll fit that, that'll be golden for putting much higher spring loads in here, which I think a 14 and even 16 kilogram would be perfect in this, especially if you add a longer barrel, which you can get longer barrels from Monkey Mods, from Artifact, which I don't think Artifact is active anymore. I'm actually not 100% sure. I'd have to ask my friend Enoch. But yeah, and I've already seen where people have modified this to have caliber and aluminum in the whole barrel section, and they're actually getting a pretty decent boost in power. But yeah, the whole idea of this is that it's something you buy out of the box, and it gets competitive level performance without any sort of tinkering. You just slap it together, With 2 pins, you can actually just pull it apart, and then you got your 2 thumb screws, which are very nicely designed. This is much better than how the CEDA does it, where the inside of the thumb screws here are smaller than the slot, so it's not going to scratch up your plastic. And then there's a small O-ring right here, which helps make things tight and helps prevent from scratching the nicely anodized aluminum bars. And then it just pulls straight out, and there you go. You've got a whole sort of mating system in here, which isn't the most airtight. You could easily fix that by maybe adding some Teflon tape around this joint here to really snug up that seal to get a little bit more power out of it, if that's what you're looking to do. But yeah, maybe they'll have a whole sort of different system for this, like a different barrel you can attach to it, which I doubt, personally. But if they continue to make these pro blasters, imagine what they could do with, a sniper style platform, which is like bolt action, similar to the bolt action kit for the Prophecy and such. Or maybe they'll make a shotgun that uses, 2 magazines or something like that. Or maybe make a nice pistol that has a T-pull or something. But yeah, a common complaint people had is the pins right here are slightly too long for it. They're not custom made or anything. The lower one is not as bad, but the top one does stick out a bit because it does get thinner up at the top, which I understand why they did it. They did it so all the pins are the same, so you could use either pin in either spot and it'll be fine, but that is a bit of an annoyance for some people. For me, it's not so bad, as long as these hold in just fine. I mean, it doesn't take too much force to pull these pins out, but, people have already stuck machine screws in there and Chicago screws, so you have nothing sticking out at all. If that is your want, then go for it. I'm probably just going to leave the pins as they are because I think it's kind of neat. You got a nice rubberized pull-over grip, which on mine it was glued down initially just in a small spot. I think that was just for transport. But the sort of skin for the grip actually has little tabs that fit underneath these spots on the grip on each side. So you can pull the whole thing off if you want to pull it apart for painting, what have you. I might paint up the lower in a nice glossy black. I don't know yet. But I do want to paint this thing up. I'm not going to have it done before Ragfest, so I'll bring this with me to Ragfest for, say, competitive, but it'll be as is, completely stock, Yeah. Personally, I think it is definitely worth it. The 180 collector's edition price is a bit high, but if you're someone like me who does play competitively and, likes to mod and all that jazz, have something that I can just throw in my car without having to worry about filaments getting soft, which is a common thing that a lot of people have been bringing up. Yeah, like, it's really good. Like, if you are, say, running a competitive field and you want a load of loners for each team to have and have everything be fairly evenly matched, there you go. Because, in my honest opinion, it is less about the blaster and more about the player, because I've seen people do well with jolts. Like, I've been able to get tags with a old N-Strike Secret, you know, the little pump-up blaster. But yeah, hopefully the proper production run will come out fairly soon in more colors, maybe a lower price, which I think that if they had this thing out for maybe 120 or so, or even 100, that would be an excellent sort of introductory price for lots of people who are wanting to get into the higher powered sort of setting of Nerf without having to really get into modding, which can open things up to modding if they're like, oh, this is really, really good, but I want to get even more power out of it. And, you know, and it'll open that whole can of worms, and then they'll see people like me and Drac and Walcom, Beret, Captain Xavier, Coop, and all them. Though Coop doesn't really do much in terms of competitive lately. But yeah. I'll drop the link down below. I'm not sure how many units of this because are left, because whenever I last saw, there were like less than 100 of these left. So if you're wanting to get one of these now, you're gonna have to act fast, or maybe get one second hand for someone or whatever. But yeah, I'll drop a link down below, as well as a link down to my Patreon if you want to help the channel out, help me fund purchases like this, so I can actually get my own views out to you people on the internets, and help, you know, get me new tools, get me new camera gear, because I do need new camera, which that'll be something I'll get eventually. But yeah, as ever, my name is Valor. Thanks for watching.